Still remember me. The morning sun cast long shadows across the downtown plaza as Emma wiped down the counter of her small food truck for the third time. The familiar weight of exhaustion pressed against her shoulders, but she straightened them anyway. Her red apron, faded from countless washes, bore the cheerful logo of Emma's Kitchen on Wheels, a dream that had become both her pride and her burden. Steam rose from the griddle behind her, carrying the rich scent of onions and peppers into the crisp autumn air. The lunch rush was still an hour away, but Emma had learned that preparation was everything. She arranged the fresh ingredients in neat rows, her movements practiced and efficient despite the tremor of worry that had become her constant companion. 3 months behind on truck payments. 2 weeks behind on rent. The numbers swirled in her mind like autumn leaves, impossible to catch and put in order. She had started this business with such hope, saving every penny from her job at the diner, believing that good food and honest work would be enough. Now, at 26, she was learning that sometimes dreams required more than determination. The first customers of the day began to gather, and Emma forced a genuine smile. Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman from the flower shop, ordered her usual breakfast burrito. A construction worker grabbed coffee and a breakfast sandwich, hurrying back to his crew. Emma served each customer with care, remembering their preferences, asking about their families. These small connections were what made the long days worthwhile. As the lunch crowd began to form, Emma noticed the line growing longer than usual. Office workers in crisp shirts and dark suits mixed with students from the nearby college, all drawn by the reputation her little truck had slowly built. She moved with practiced rhythm, flipping eggs, assembling sandwiches, calling out orders with a warmth that made each customer feel seen. Near the back of the line stood a man in an expensive charcoal suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his presence somehow different from the usual downtown crowd. He stood quietly, seemingly content to wait his turn, occasionally glancing at his phone but never with the impatience Emma had grown used to seeing from the business crowd. Emma barely noticed him at first. Her hands were full with orders, her mind focused on keeping up with the steady stream of hungry customers. She had learned to work efficiently, taking orders, calling out names, making change, all while keeping conversation light and friendly. It was a delicate dance she had perfected over months of practice. The man in the suit moved steadily forward in line, and Emma caught glimpses of him between customers. There was something familiar about the way he carried himself, something that tugged at the edges of her memory like a half-remembered song. But she pushed the thought aside, focusing on the immediate task of keeping her customers happy and her business running. When he finally reached the front of the line, Emma looked up with her practiced smile, ready to take his order. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the busy plaza seemed to fade around them. His were the same warm brown eyes she remembered, though now they held a confidence that hadn't been there before. "What can I get you today?" she asked, her voice steady despite the sudden flutter in her chest. He studied the menu board thoughtfully, and Emma found herself studying him in return. The expensive suit, the polished shoes, the watch that probably cost more than she made in a month, everything about him spoke of success and wealth. Yet something in his expression remained gentle, familiar. "I'll take the grilled chicken sandwich," he said, his voice carrying a slight smile. "Extra pickles, no mayo. Just like you used to make them." Emma's hand stilled over the order pad. The specific request, delivered with such quiet certainty, sent a shock of recognition through her. She looked at him again, really looked, and suddenly the years fell away. "Jake." The name escaped as barely a whisper. He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to match hers. "Still remember me, Emma." The busy lunch crowd continued around them, but Emma felt as if time had slowed. Jake Morrison, her best friend from high school. The quiet kid who sat with her at lunch when she was new in town. The one who had helped her study for chemistry tests and listened to her talk about her dreams of opening a restaurant someday. The one who had disappeared from her life when his family moved away senior year, leaving behind only a promise to stay in touch that had slowly faded with distance and time. "I can't believe it's really you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's been, what, 8 years? 8 years, 4 months, he said softly. "But who's counting?" Emma's hands moved automatically, preparing his order while her mind reeled. Jake Morrison, who used to ride the city bus with her because neither of them had a car. Jake, who had shared his lunch when her family was going through a rough patch. Jake, who had believed in her dreams when she barely believed in them herself. "I heard you were back in town," he continued, watching her work. "I've been meaning to stop by, but I wasn't sure if you'd remember me." "Remember you?" Emma laughed, a sound that was half joy, half disbelief. "Jake, you were my best friend. Of course I remember you." As she handed him the sandwich, their fingers brushed, and Emma felt the same easy warmth that had always existed between them. But now there was something else too, an awareness of how much had changed, and perhaps how much had stayed the same. "You did it," Jake said, gesturing toward the truck. "You actually did it. Your own kitchen, just like you always talked about." Emma felt a flush of pride, followed immediately by the familiar weight of her current struggles. "Well, it's not exactly the restaurant I dreamed about, but it's a start." Jake took a bite of the sandwich, and his expression lit up with genuine pleasure. "It's perfect," he said. "Even better than I remembered." As he prepared to leave, Jake hesitated, then pulled out a business card. "I know this might sound strange, but I have a proposition for you. My company is looking for catering services for our events. Would you be interested in talking about it?" Emma looked at the card, reading the elegant script, "Morrison Holdings, LLC. Jacob Morrison, CEO." The title hit her like a gentle wave, explaining the expensive suit, the quiet confidence, the way he had waited patiently in line without complaint. "You're a CEO?" she asked, unable to hide her amazement. Jake's cheeks colored slightly, the gesture so familiar it made Emma's heart ache with nostalgia. "It's not as impressive as it sounds. But yes, I've been fortunate. And I'd like to share some of that fortune with an old friend, if she'll let me." Emma felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the kindness in his offer, the warmth in his voice, the impossible coincidence of his reappearance in her life just when she needed hope most. "I'd like that," she said quietly. "I'd like that very much." As Jake walked away, sandwich in hand, Emma watched him go with a heart full of gratitude and possibility. The autumn sun seemed brighter, the weight on her shoulders a little lighter. Sometimes, she thought, dreams didn't unfold the way you expected. Sometimes they came back to you in the form of an old friend, standing patiently in line, waiting for you to remember that you were never really forgotten.